Let's go.
You are live, sir. We are live. We are live. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy, the Fluffy Fellow, aka Mr. Evo, on my weekly podcast here, the Fluffy Fellow Podcast. So the month of March, I decided that I want to talk about relationships this entire month. So I'm going to have some females on here with some female perspectives. If anybody remembers my very first episode last year was Boo, Bay, and Wifey. We're gonna readdress that, but with a female perspective on some of the stuff that I said, because a lot of people were not happy with how I spoke about Boo, Bay, and Wifey. Um, so anyway, go ahead and like it, share, comment. I have two very special guests here. These are my partners in crime on other podcasts that we do together. The Versus podcast, which is we've been shut off by Instagram. That's all I'm gonna say. That should tell you the validity of what we're doing. But it's been really dope. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get into the subject.
Hey, it's your boy Lewis T, the Inquisitive Mind of Lewis T from IMOLT Podcast. Thanks for having me, Mr. Evo.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Go ahead. And our next guest is.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Scotty LaCura, New York City native, Wilmington, North Carolina resident, hip hop journalist, part of the Versus podcast, or shall we not even say that anymore?
No, we're gonna say it, bro. That's what we are. It is what it is.
Versus podcast, gang.
Gang. So we did a segment last year, probably I want to say it was September-ish. It was really choppy, but I wanted to address interracial dating. Now, we're all three black men on the podcast here, and we've all, in some way, we've all experienced interracial dating, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. The more tenured of us here that is actually in a interracial relationship, a partnership, is Mr. Scotty. He's been. How long have you and Chris been together?
7 years now.
7 years. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time. So the question that I put on there for anybody who hopped on who's just seeing maybe what's on the bottom or the title is how does interracial dating, how has it affected you when it comes to relationships? Have you had primarily black relationships and then wanted to try dating somebody from outside of your race, or has it just been something excuse me, something you've been drawn to? Go ahead, Scotty, answer that for me first, and then we'll get to you, Lewis.
I don't know. First of all, the easiest way I could say it is that I'm attracted to women. Period. If I see a beautiful woman, I'm gonna approach and say something and make try to initiate some sort of conversation. And there's never really been like a preference for me. Just that also goes to where we grew up to. You kind of just around everybody. Not from Queens, New York, where you have I went to high school with girls who were Puerto Rican and Jewish and Russian and Filipino and stuff like that. So
you had a melting pot.
Yeah, it was a lot of wild stuff going on. So it introduced me to other cultures, how other cultures eat and everything, how just other customs and everything, how people are very similar as well too, as far as family functions and how your family gets together and stuff. So I don't know, it's just been a learning experience. I've never just specifically stuck with just, I'm dating this specific. Nah, it's if we vibing, then we vibing.
So it's more of a vibe for you than an actual desire to be with somebody else that's not black.
Yeah,
or to be with a black woman. It's just whatever the vibe is.
Yeah, it's the person. It's the person and how we interact.
Gotcha. All right, Lewis, go ahead, man. Tell me about your experience.
I mean, I think I'm being a little. I'm not that much older than y'all, but I think being a little bit older than y'all, I am old enough to where it's a different. I think, and growing up in here in North Carolina, it's a little bit different because, like, when I was in high school, man, probably up until my senior year, you kind of just stayed with your own. You know what I mean? Like I remember, I remember one of my homeboys broke that racial barrier, and it was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and but his retort is like, "Hey, none of y'all girls wanted to date me. Why y'all mad now that I found somebody that did?" I mean, ultimately, you want to date who male, female, white, black, whatever. You love who you love, and that's but I mean, I know in high school and growing up, it definitely was a thing. Me, um, just as as my world opened up, my dating opened up as well. So I mean, I've dated plethora of not minorities,
Yeah.
of
That's where
races.
it starts.
Yeah. Um, and like Scott said, you're attracted to who you're attracted to. It's like there's a physical attraction, and then the most importantly, when you're talking about dating, it's it's a little bit more than physical.
Yeah. So I mean, have you experienced the cultural difference between dating a black woman and dating somebody who's not black? Like, have you really seen like the key differences between the two? And in that did it sway you to say, you know what, I think I can get used to this, or there's a resistance from here, but I like this better.
I mean, nothing that's necessarily because of race, because typically when someone is usually when someone is dating a black man, or at least they're almost more bending to our culture. I would feel, in my opinion, versus I've never really. I mean, there's different things like I mean, I dated someone from Samoa, and just being around their family. So that's things I had to, and that was cool. Like cooking a pig in the ground. You at a time where I didn't eat pork, but that was cool, and being with someone who's more of a minority than you, because like every time that they saw any kind of representation, it's like, yo, that's a big thing. And
Mm.
it's like, well, damn, I'm black, and we don't see a lot of us on TV, but we do see some of us on out there in the world. So those things like that was kind of eye opening.
What about you, Scotty? So like you, I mean,
First,
you've been with sisters, right? You've been with black women, and
yeah.
then you've been with a plethora of other nationalities. Was there ever like a comparison that you had to do, or like you felt like you were missing out on something because you weren't with a black woman?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't know. It's just if I did, I probably didn't even pay attention to it. Like it was
But
just never.
I mean, I'm asking because like, so I've dated white, I've dated black, I've dated Hispanic, I've dated Asian. Like, I mean, I've worked my way through the rainbow for nationalities, right? So I can personally say, and this is not a slight on anybody that is not black that I've dated and been with or anything like that, but I have felt the difference of being with a black woman who understands my black issues compared
Mm-hmm.
to being with somebody who's not black, not understanding my black issues or why I feel some type of way. But then I've also been with black women who they support you, but because I'll say, for instance, a white woman, because she's seen all the stuff that's happened in the world, she's scared for your life. So I've seen a little bit of both. So I wasn't sure if that affected you, if you've seen that uh, those same elements when it came to being in relationships.
I mean, it kind of it kind of goes without saying. Like again, like I am a black man, so if there is like a white woman talking to me, like there is some sort of interest in me and our culture first and foremost.
Mhm.
So, but then again, like I've come across girls who are like pretty conservative, but like, hey, I like you as a person and stuff. And I mean, it's like, what the hell do I do? What the hell do I do with that? You know? But
Yeah.
as far as like cultural differences, like I think the first time I like stayed at a white girl's house, I went to go make myself some coffee in the morning, and my first thought was just like, where do you white people keep the sugar? Like little like I don't know, like little stuff like that. They call things different stuff.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know,
Language is
like
different as well. Yeah.
yeah, like the little drawer in your fridge, they call it the crisper. I ain't never heard that ever.
I ain't never heard that before either till now, but that's a first.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a first.
that bugged me out. But
I
like
think that
little,
might be a southern thing. That might not
It
be.
could be.
did you
It
grow up
could be.
calling it the crisper?
I mean, I read it. I could see it was called a CRISPR. I never called it.
What'd you call
What
it?
did you call it?
I don't even know if I have a name for it.
The drawer.
The drawer, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
The
yeah,
The
yeah,
drawer.
drawer.
yeah. But it says. I mean, it says CRISPR. I felt like that
Nah,
meant something.
I don't know. I never read that before.
Listen, me neither. That's a first for me. But okay, so first of all, the fact that Scotty said he got up to go to make coffee. Got Scotty is not your typical black man. We can honestly say that he is very different than most. Because who's waking up in somebody else's house to go make coffee? I don't know who does that.
I got permission. I mean,
Uh,
you think I just walked downstairs in my drawers and made coffee?
I would hope not, but that wouldn't surprise me with you, buddy, at all. Um,
I'd have to be real comfortable there, man. Not in that time when staying in chicks freaking like apartments with like college roommates and stuff, and me just walking. Nah, man, I ain't deal with that.
so all right, so on the line of dating outside your race and finding love, because I think the key thing that y'all said tonight that was uh, really important is that it's not about the color itself, but it's actually about the connection and the way that you vibe. So, but you can also say that even though y'all are vibing together, there's conflict that comes from dating somebody that's not black, right? I mean, you've experienced that?
I
No.
mean, I could see it, like especially now. But I mean, I think we touched on that in the last one. Um, I would say out dating someone now. There's I would say there's a lot that come with it. You know what I mean? And I mean, it probably always been that way. But I mean, I've been in my, the world is smaller but bigger now. So I used to be in my bubble, and
Mhm.
in my bubble, I mean, I got my friends are primarily married to white women. I'm in the downtown
And
world. Like,
oh
what? What you about
no,
to
I
say?
thought I thought you were about to say I'm in a, and then you about to start
I
to
thought he was
correct
too. I thought he was
yourself.
about to confess something live on the Fluffy Fellow podcast because we've been
Nah,
giving you issues about that, bro. I was gonna be surprised if you said something.
no, I'm not in any relationship, black, white, or otherwise.
I was
That
about to bet the house. You were about to say I'm in a new relationship myself.
no,
Yep.
no, no, no. Now y'all made me lose my train of thought. But but yeah, I mean, but even like I had a friend that listened to the last one, yeah, and they were confused by some of the things that I said on there, and I was like, well, one, I was like, I was taking a stance because I wanted to make it an interesting conversation.
Mhm.
I was a little bit harder on certain things than I might personally feel, but it's not too far from the truth. But I mean, but then just talking to them, they're like, well, people should just, you know, their privilege. They don't even like how you talk about the black man experience. Even though they have interracial kids, those kids are kind of probably more grown up in more of a white environment, and they don't understand. Like they have. It's like they understand, but they still don't get it,
Well, I
and
mean, and I think that's just because of the way society brings. I mean, so if
they
we
still have
look
a
at it,
privilege.
correct. I mean, there is a privilege. There's a privilege in. I think. So I've been around interracial children, and you can always see, like, even though we know that they're the we all right, we know the dominant gene is the black gene, right? This is a known fact. So they look like us, but the way that I've seen white people treat mixed kids is is with the same privilege. Like they don't treat them like they would a black child.
Hmm.
Now I've seen this. Now just the way, oh, they're so beautiful and they're pretty and oh, what's her name? And they just not they don't do that to every black child that they see.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so, and nothing against them, but I mean that's something that you observe because they aren't always fully engulfed in our culture.
yeah. Well, and I'm learning something that I didn't know. 'Cause I'm not biracial or interracial or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, on the red couch, I had Lily Nicole, and like I asked her how she grew up, and she never really thought of herself as black. You know, she thought of herself as like mixed or whatever, and like the way, and again, this might just me being that like I feel like I'm in between two generations, like the old man generation and like the new kids, like the and when growing up, you're black. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You know like your mama your mama white, your daddy black, you're black. Your mama white, your daddy black, you're black. Your daddy white, your mama black, you're black. There's no like you're
There's no ifs,
mixed.
ands, or buts. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like and I mean even like some of my homeboys, you know, they're like because we was talking about what was the Super Bowl that's not Brady that was in the Super what was the quarterback that was in the Super Bowl
Patrick
that's not Brady?
Mahomes.
Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes.
we were talking about him and like I asked, yeah, it's like is he black? And he's like, well, you know, he's mixed. And I'm like, well, isn't
He
that black?
black. Exactly.
And they just letting the whole conversation like, so it's like, is your daughter black? And he's like, nah, actually she's yada. And I'm like, okay. And I mean, like, I don't have a horse in that race. I'm just whatever they say. I don't have a horse in
But
that.
I think that it's like that. I think a lot of people try not to identify with a specific race or nationality or no race because so back if we even go historically, if you were born in slavery and you looked black, you were treated as if you were black. Whether the master was your father or not, you were put in certain areas as a slave, even though you were partially white. I think as time developed and grew, and people who loved each other actually just made the conscious decision to have relationships and have kids together, there had to be a choice made at that point. What are you? And most people say you're black. And it does make it hard in any relation. So like when you think about having a kid, now Scotty, you're the only person on this panel that can talk about this because you do have a son who is mixed, and he's not all white though because she's Hispanic, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah. So he's got a little bit of it. You know what I mean? But his mom does not look like she's Hispanic. So when they go out in public, I imagine they automatically assume that she's in an interracial relationship. So how does that affect you being his father? Like, do you tell him he's black when you fill out paperwork for him? Do you guys write it as black? Do you write it as other? Like, how do you guys actually address that?
To be honest, we kind of we kind of have fun with it. We just put different things on different forms.
Oh my god. So y'all are messing up the census. It's okay, whatever.
Nah, I mean, we're technically not lying. We put
Technically.
black on some, put Hispanic on some, put we never, I don't think we put white on any though. We've never put white, but we put black and Hispanic.
So how is
Why
that?
not white?
How is that gonna? Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm?
I'm
You said
sorry.
what, Louis D?
I was gonna say why not white?
I don't know. We just never did.
Mm,
Like she barely refers to herself as white.
mm,
And
I
that,
mean,
but that's
she,
like that's the oddest thing. Now, when I first met her, I thought she was white. I'm not gonna lie because she looks white. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like she
yeah,
looks like a regular white woman. I don't know any other way of saying that, but she looks. And so as you did, until I learned more, and I speak like this because Scotty is my cousin, so we are related. So when I first met her, I didn't know, like at all. Um,
hmm
but over the time, growing and developing, having conversations, you learn, and then I seen that my perspective changed. And it tends to change when you learn that somebody is not white. You know what I mean? Like they may
yeah,
look a certain race, but as you start talking to them and having that conversation, and they're like, "Oh no, I'm not white at all." Like, "Oh, okay." So then your perspective changes. Oh well, they know they maybe they do understand the struggle that I'm going through.
yeah,
But it takes that conversation, unfortunately, to do that. Otherwise, we automatically go in with the stigma that everybody's dating somebody white without even
yeah.
knowing the truth.
And so, and she's got an interesting story too, because now this like white looking girl who happens to be Hispanic also sort of grew up in like the middle of nowhere and stuff. So she had to sort of deal with like, especially her dad. So her dad had to deal with a lot of like, hey, Jose, and stuff like that. So I think that gave her a little bit more of a perspective than say anybody else, especially from that small town, let alone like all other small towns.
Hmm.
So that was some that I mean that was something that we obviously like bonded over
Now, how did y'all meet?
at work,
Okay.
like normal people in Wilmington do.
That does seem to be the trend, right? Meeting
That's
people
how
at
you.
work.
That's just how it happens.
yeah.
And now, like,
Yeah.
so how did the conversation go? Or did you automatically know that she was Hispanic, or did you know, like, how did that conversation go? How did
No,
the
just through
differences in
just
cultures?
just through talking and getting to know each other at work, and then hanging out after work, and then just like things come out, and just you get to talk to a person. At a certain point, you're like, all right, am I going to continue talking to this person or not? And I continued to because it was just cool. It was
Well,
there
and,
was
and
really
that's the
no
way I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this conversation that you have, and I think what we've emphasized so much, because honestly, if you look at worldwide, the number of interracial relationships has jumped over the last 10 years. It's relevant
but
everywhere you
but
go now.
but really have they?
I think that okay. Let me rephrase that. The visibility of interracial relationships has jumped because a lot of people were in interracial relationships, but they didn't want to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And now that you have social media and you have, celebrities who are interracial relationships and you see these things and you can see how acceptable it is now because it seems more acceptable.
Yeah, that's
Now,
that's all it is. It's not that it
it
hasn't been
seems more,
happening. It's
yeah.
just it's
Well, it's
just
been
more
happening for a long
acceptable and
time. Correct.
visible.
I mean, because even if you think about Black Lives Matter, I think Black Lives Matter shed light on a lot of interracial relationships
Mm-hmm.
because those who are uh, of white, well, basically white people who were dating somebody black had to step up and speak up for their people because, like, I'm not gonna let you diss somebody I'm in love with. I'm not gonna let you disrespect them. And you seen that in the pour out of people who showed up for the marches, especially white women who were with black men. So as you see this grow, it becomes a discussion of, okay, well, is it okay for us now to just say love is love and keep it moving?
I don't like long as it's not like some fetish kind of thing. I don't think I think we might touch on that too because you got some
Yeah.
people that be
Yeah,
like I don't like uh like they might be black and only date white women or you know what I mean or vice versa.
yeah.
Which is
And
weird.
it's
Which
like
is weird.
you know what I
I
mean like
I mean, is it
it,
really weird or is it a preference?
It's
Because we're saying fetish, but there becomes a point in time when it becomes a preference. There are some
it's
people I know who prefer to not date sisters because they're like, well, they don't do X, Y, and Z for me.
but
And
that's your stereotyping. You know what I mean? Like, cause there's no like if there's for some reason you don't you don't find darker skin attractive, then I mean, yeah, I feel like you're weird, but you have your preference. But
hmm,
if it's not about that, your attraction, like all three of us are black men. All three of us are very different. So we most likely we are not in the same dating pool.
hmm,
So it's like to say, like so just to say that, yeah, I mean, like just to say that you only date this, like you're trying to pinhole people,
correct.
and
And I agree with you. I agree with that.
now that I can, but and I can see someone saying that they wouldn't date any of us because we're all three black men. So, and I mean, it's almost I have more respect for that now than before. Just but because you're probably just racist, and I can deal. I can just deal with that. I can deal with old school regular racists just more than ignorant. I'm not racist, but I'm racist.
I'm
Well,
not.
yeah,
I'm not. I don't know that I'm racist. Racists.
Yeah. The one that I'm not
yeah.
racist, but I'm racist.
uh-huh. So
I don't know,
I
but everything else I do and say says otherwise.
Yeah,
correct,
or
correct.
culture vultures.
Oh wow, yeah. That's a big thing too. That is definitely a big thing.
See, that's
With
the
it,
thing. Like like I'm not going to say that I've never been involved with those. I guess those type of white girls. I'm not going to say it, but like they're at this point in my life, is just nah, not for me.
well, I mean, and I think as you grow older and you mature, you have a definitive understanding of what you want to date, who you want to date, what you're looking for, and that it makes sense. So let me bring this around the corner real quick. So I was with an older black woman, and we were having a conversation, and she's single, and she was like, "It's so hard out here to find a black man because they're all of them have been taken by other races." And and this is not the first conversation I've had with a black female who feels like everybody's taking their man. There's no we're not here for them anymore. We don't support them. We don't want to be with them, which I don't think is the case. I think what it's become is that we as humanity have come to the point where it's like I'm gonna love who I love and that's it. Has nothing to do with race anymore. Now, of course, you have the preferences and all that jazz. So, how would you address um, a black woman who comes to you and says, "Listen, I'm trying to understand. Were we not good enough for you? Why is it that
No,
you won't date us?"
that's I don't. That's not the case at all. That's especially not the case for me and why I'm at where I'm at now. Like that has nothing to do with why me and the person that I'm with ended up.
Hmm.
That was just like a chance encounter. But to speak to what you're asking, I think that there's been sort of like a fetishization of black men for white women and vice versa, and it's just become like really pervasive. It's become like we were talking about before, acceptable. So now there's a lot of us that are going out and participating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think it has anything to do with anything black women are or not doing, because just as much as I see interracial relationships, I see a lot of strong black couples too.
Correct. I
Definitely.
mean, I see it too. I think that it's become an issue because so Nick Cannon he said on his podcast some months ago. I don't know if y'all watch his podcast or not, but he was saying that there was a point in time when the white woman was forbidden for black men. I mean, look at Emmett Till, who literally didn't do anything wrong, supposedly looked at a white woman, was killed. So now that we have this freedom and we can date whoever we want, why not have the forbidden fruit? And the thought process, and I'm not saying that's what everybody's thinking here, but that was what the thought process was, is that we couldn't have we they wanted to sleep with us, we slept with them, we got beat. We might have had kids with them, we got beat. But now that it's a free for all, why not? And my question is that's do you think that's a good perspective to have as to why black men are not dating black women like as much as they used to in a sense? Because literally, you could probably go on your Facebook, FaceTime, Instagram, Twitter, and you can see a multitude of interracial dating or relationships or marriages.
I mean, I was. I want to get on my Kevin. What's my man name to be on YouTube and Instagram? Kevin Stevens, not Kevin Stevens. Kevin Samuels. Have y'all seen any of his videos? Would he be like talking to black women and like, what do you
Oh yeah,
rate
all right.
yourself?
That he's a whole nother dude. Like that's. But go ahead. That's
Yeah,
he's a whole nother subject.
but it's like, and I mean, this can go for anyone, not just black women, but like, I don't know. I mean, first of all, what kind of black men are you looking for? Because like, you start now. You can start asking questions and narrow it down. Like, what are you into, and what are they into? Like, what are your standards maybe too high for what maybe you should be looking for? Or
Well, how do you? But they're gonna say my standards should be high because I'm a black queen. How do you respond to that? Because that's generally what you're gonna get. You're gonna get that you're supposed to treat
and then
me.
you ask more questions like, well, why do you feel like you're this black queen? Like, and like, let's take race out of the picture, and then let's compare person to person. You know
But
what
see,
I mean?
that's the hard part. A lot of people don't want to take race out of the equation because they feel like it is about race. It is about being a black man being with a black woman,
Well,
a
I
white
mean,
man being with a white woman.
yeah. I mean, and that, like I said, that's hard for me to speak on because, like I said, I don't have that fetish or whatever you want to call it. So, like,
But
if
I
someone
mean, but I'm
wants,
I'm pretty sure you've had conversations with other women who have explained to you their thought process on why, especially black women, on why they may not be okay with a white
oh
woman with a
yeah,
black man.
I talk to, being that I do talk to black women, and and I say, I'm totally okay with dating outside my race. Yeah, I have those conversations, and they are, and like, cause I feel like a lot of black women, for the most part, are the ones that are like, nah, I'm just dating a black man. Like, I don't, like heavy D, no coffee, no sugar, no cream. That's what they want on their team. And and I mean, like, and that I get it. But I don't know. So, but
It's
like I
a
said,
hard.
it's hard for me to speak on because I would have to try to get in the mind frame of those people who only date white women. You know what I mean? But usually those people are. into quote stereotypical white things. So why would you know what I mean? Like not always, but if there's someone that says they don't date, you know what I mean? Like I would say I wouldn't. I would say like me, I probably wouldn't date hood chicks. I don't got nothing to do with color or get her. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
know,
but when you make a statement like that, or you say you wouldn't date a hood chick, you literally are, because we don't see, and this is unfortunately this is the way that the world goes. We don't see anybody of any other race as hood other than black women.
well, you because yeah, usually it's, even if they're white people that's emulating black people in some ways, or would be viewed as emulating white. But there's some hood ass white people, men and women.
I mean, I agree
You
with
know,
you. I'm just saying because, but when you make that kind of statement, though, if we're gonna, play devil's advocate and be real about it, that's what when you say that, black women automatically say, "Well, you cutting out all of us black women," and
uh,
like I mean, that's unfortunate.
but then
I don't believe.
how can you view yourself as a hood chick and a queen? Those two things don't go together. Like, well, we talking about you know Queen. Unless we're talking about Queen and Slim, and she wasn't a hood chick either.
But
Well, all
but
right, all right.
go ahead,
So,
Scotty.
so just today, actually, I started watching Hip Hop Undercover. You guys seen that yet?
No,
I watched
that's
the
it's on
first
my list.
episode. I
It
watched the
was
first.
good.
Uh,
It was good. I binge watched the whole
Yeah,
thing today.
I wouldn't date Deb.
But here's the thing. So here's the thing. A woman like Deb is like the whole thing is about like a code. Like a lot of these women from the hood, like they have a certain code that a lot of other women that's a quality that they just don't have, and that quality alone makes them attractive. They don't have to be the best looking woman in the world, but if they have like that quality, then sometimes that's all a man needs. So a lot of hood chicks do have those qualities. They will stand. They will hold you the fuck down.
Oh, definitely. But I'm just saying.
So,
well, I
yeah,
mean, but
and
loyalty goes into, but loyalty is a part of a personality trait, because not everybody, it doesn't, I mean, you can meet people who are from the projects who are not loyal at all.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it
absolutely.
doesn't
And
really matter where
that
you're
goes,
from.
and again, that no, but still, that goes to that code. That goes to that certain code that if you were, were you raised a certain way? Were you,
Yeah, but I mean,
taught
but you can
to?
say the same thing about someone who is not black, who was white, Asian, Hispanic. It doesn't matter, who was raised in we'll call it a white community with a silver spoon handed to them, but they'll be the most loyal person. They'll go to jail for you. They'll do whatever they got to do to take care of you, because that's a personality trait that they have. So at
Yeah,
the end of the day, when we're talking about love and race really shouldn't come into play when we talk about who we're loving, because there's obviously attributes that they are providing that, like you said, that you vibe with, that you can communicate with them, that everything works. So it doesn't matter what race they are. It's really about the connection that you have. I mean, that's what it
yeah,
is at the end of the day.
yeah.
So
That's what it's supposed to be. But underneath that, there are certain things that that attracts you to another person that's going to send you that person's way.
true, very true.
So it all and again, like we're all black men, so we all have a certain way that we were raised. A lot of us very similarly too,
Hmm.
and that's just respect. So that's sort of like the foundation that we have. Like that's a foundation that's sort of like instilled us. A lot of us don't live by certain codes, and especially today, but there's a certain breed of people who and sometimes that's all it takes. That's all you need.
I agree. I mean, I see it from two perspectives. I definitely agree with that. You're looking for a specific thing. So of course I grew up in a household with two black parents, my mom and dad, who've been married for I'm 36, so 35 years. They've been together since they were 16 and 14. So that's the kind of love I experienced. My parents love each other, and I've seen we call the black love as well, where she looks out for him, he looks out for her. And now I have dated like I said, I've dated interracially. I've been with white, I've been with black. Now the one thing that I can be 100% transparent with, and when I dated somebody white and I rocked with them and we were vibing and everything was good, I still sometimes felt like I missed out on some of the black connection that I needed. And then when I dated somebody black, everything was great. We were good. We had the black connection, but maybe we weren't on the same intellectual or business mindset that I could with somebody who was white or Asian. So like I've had these. I wouldn't say that they were deficiencies, but there were these things that were missing. Even though I was happy and I was in a good relationship, and they made me feel good and X, Y, Z. But then when you see other people in interracial relationships, you're like, man, what am I missing out on that they're getting that I may not be getting? So, and that's just me. I can't speak for any other person in the world. I can only speak for myself. I have felt that way before. I have felt that way when I've seen a black crime and was with somebody white at the time. And it's like, you'll never be able to understand how I feel. And it sucks because they want to understand how you feel. As for if I was with a black woman and the crime happened, I can talk to her. I can if I'm with a black woman and I'm watching a different world, and we're talking about the riots when Dwayne and Whitley were in California. She could relate to me. That whole episode will speak to her. Compared to now, where like if I'm with somebody white, they're not going to understand all that. So I get what you're saying. It makes sense that we have to at some point stop making this such a racial thing. Like that's something I've been trying to develop because I want to when I find love and I find who I'm going to be my forever with and all that jazz. I had to literally take out the limits that I put on myself. Because if you want to appease other people and you want to make other people happy, you can make yourself the most miserable. And I think us as black men have that issue where we want to appease the masses because we don't want to hear
No, I
nobody
don't.
talk about us. Not
No, I
you,
don't.
maybe not you, Scotty. You're beyond that
Don't.
point. That's which is
The,
good. Not all of
don't
us are there
care.
though.
Do not care at all.
But not everybody's there yet, Scotty. That's what I'm saying. Like
You want to
if we
you want to
talk
you want to
about
know
it
how to get there?
nationally,
You want to know how to get there?
t- go ahead and tell the secret.
Don't care. It's literally it's not to care. Don't don't care about it. Fuck it.
How do you feel about that statement, Lewis?
The not care
Yeah,
or
not caring.
I mean
Like,
it's
are you at that point where you just don't care, or is it still something that you think about?
oh I definitely still think about it like there's like I mean there's been times I've been at like certain events especially being single most of the time I just when you're out there looking it's like man, I wouldn't feel comfortable bringing a white girl to this event. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I would care about what people are thinking or looking. You know what I mean? Especially I'm not there. Like for the most, but you know what I mean. If I was in a loving relationship, maybe. But being just single and not in a relationship, you can just kind of like man because you don't know because the person beside you're guesstimating who the person beside you would be. You're just like like would they fit in? You know what I mean? So
There are cultural differences that you that you do have to weigh. I definitely agree with you on that. But like Scotty said, at some point you got to get to where you just don't care. because your happiness is more important than anything else.
Oh, definitely. And
And
I
yeah,
will still be happy, but I'll probably just be happy with her at home while I'm handling my business in these streets. And then when I get home, I can have me some unseasoned chicken waiting for me.
yo, stop. That's not even right. That's not even right. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. Cause I'm going. I will sit here. I will vouch. I have met some Caucasian, white, whatever you want to call them, women that can cook. So I ain't gonna
Oh,
do that to
oh,
them.
yo, hey,
I ain't gonna do that. That's not
yo,
right.
there's some white women in my that are dear to my heart that help me out in the kitchen a lot. So I'm not saying
So yeah. So we I don't want it to be a stereotypical thing. I just want to talk about some stuff that we've dealt with. So, but I appreciate you guys tonight. Like I said, I wanted to re-go over some things because a lot of stuff that we've been seeing in the world, especially with Black Lives Matter, became a very large, influential movement for us last year. And in that, interracial dating became a topic of discussion, and I wanted to address it, but I wanted to also address love, because honestly we forget that it's not about the color that you love. You're not loving somebody because of the color of their skin. You're loving for them not only for what they bring to the table, but how they make you feel, how they respect you, and above all, that they actually genuinely just want to be in your presence. And so, as I'm going through this month of love, like I said, I wanted to touch on a few things. Interracial was a big thing I wanted to touch on, because I feel like it's okay. At this point in time, we have to grow as humanity. We talk about unity all the time, but you can't be unified if you're doing racial division still. It doesn't work. So I appreciate you guys coming on. Louis T, tell them how to get in contact with you. Tell them any new events that you have going on. Go ahead and plug yourself, my brother.
So we got new episodes of Red Cups on the Red Couch every Tuesday night, premiering at 8 p.m. Depending on when you listen to it, probably have the Glad interview out. We're talking spicy with him, from how he went from blood to versus blood, like a YouTube sensation, to having his own YouTube podcast show, Talk Spicy TV. And like I said, every Tuesday, 8 p.m., we are dropping new episodes, and that's IMOLT podcast. Just type that in YouTube, it should pop right up. Hit that subscribe button, start liking and commenting. That'd be cool.
Appreciate you. Young Scotty, tell them how to get in contact with you, my brother, and what you got going on right now.
Um, Working on getting some new DJ equipment. My laptop just sort of just
Oh, dang. That
yeah.
sucks.
So we're working on going laptopless from here on
Okay.
out.
Old vinyl?
Yeah, we're gonna dabble into that. We're gonna dabble into that.
Okay.
It's that's a pretty expensive hobby, so it's just taking saving some money and but and the way we're making that money is via FanDuel. Not that I'm advertising because they're not giving us advertising dollars, but if you want to go head to head with your boy on FanDuel, zigzag bong bong, I'll take that money. And also, me and my buddy Eddie Cool, we got a little wrestling podcast that we're working on. So keep your ears to the streets for that. And yeah, just trying to make 2021 productive and just enjoying our hobbies and bringing it to y'all.
Bet. Bet. Well, appreciate you fellows for coming on. As usual, it's your boy, Mr. Evo, aka the Fluffy Fellow, or the Fluffy Fellow, aka Mr. Evo, however you want to say it. I am the prettiest fellow that you ever would see today. Um, I'm excited to be here. Listen, y'all know it's self love for me all day, no matter where I go, because I'm learning that if you don't love yourself, nobody else will. So first and foremost, you can find me on all
Facts.
of my social media, all platforms at Mr. underscore Evo, no, Mr. Evo underscore 84. Um, Reach out to me. We can talk. Merchandise still working on that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope that this opened some dialogue for some people who may be in interracial relationships or considering it. to just have a conversation, to talk. Love is love. That's the bottom line. Love is love. You fall in love with who you want to. I appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Scotty, you're the most eccentric person I ever met. Only person I know who smokes on podcasts. Um, I love you though, brother. You still family.
Love you too, man. I mean, hey,
And Louis C had the black owned water. If you have not seen this, go ahead and check out said
water.
or support the city. Yes, it's the first black owned alkaline um, spring water in North Carolina. It's been owned for decades, well, 100, 200 or 300 years. But Cedric is actually selling it here in Wilmington, North Carolina. He is a so support black businesses. Go ahead and go to support the port. You can get in contact with said great deals. It's good water. I've had like 8 to 10 bottles already. Amazing water. But go ahead and check that out. We support black businesses. I love you guys. Appreciate you coming on. And we out. Check us out next week.
Peace, everybody.
Find me
Peace.
on Clubhouse.